Lazima tushikane so as to be attractive. And in my dream is that because Raila Odinga, I supported him more than many people who want to brag in the last election. We have supported Raila, and there is nothing wrong in sisi kama Waluya kumwambia mzee vile unaenda na wewe unga kijana wetu Mluya mkono.
All right, so I want us to have that conversation here in studio. Joining me is Kavins Owidi, who says he is a public defender and also a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us, Kavins. We also have Didmus Barasa, who is the Kimilili Member of Parliament. Thank you for joining us. All right, gentlemen, we'll get to the politics, but before then, something very important happened today in this whole corruption conversation, and Richard Dubai and a number of other suspects were arrested overnight. First of all, your take on that. Does it show that the wheel is actually rolling, or is it just one of the other things that we've seen before? Kevin, I'll start with you.
You know, Kenyan politics is degenerating into what we call demagoguery, where you do things that appeal to the desires and expectations of the people, but not really the right thing.
Right.
The officials who are being arrested are people who can actually be summoned. You don't have to send 48 teams of policemen to go and get them to custody and take them to court. You can actually call them. This arrest is just to show that the government is doing something. Because this kind of corruption that we see begins during budgeting. This NCPB thing, I could see it from the budget. After the budget, the deputy president himself went and announced that the farmers will now get more than they have been getting for their maize. He was laying the ground very nicely for the people who are going to benefit from where they did not sow. Today I saw somebody in Eldoret saying that actually some of the people who have delivered maize did not even go for the fertilizer.
Yes.
So it means they were not actually farmers.
Yes, yes.
And somebody came to go against that and say, some of these people bought maize at the gate.
Right.
If I have transported maize several kilometers to the gate of NCPB, why would I sell it to somebody else to give me less? When moving in, I will get more. These are games that are being played by the Kenyan electorate. I said once upon a time that the Kenyan electorate is 90% functionally literate. So we can play games with them. We can always lie to them. We can always play demagoguery with them.
All right, and
that's what happens.
And pull some stunts, like you mentioned.
Correct.
All right, Didmus, do you hold the same view that this may be just a mere public relations stunts to show that something is happening?
I will say this as I'm a practicing politician. And Kenyans are happy to see the culprits arrested, but they will be much more happier if they will see the government tracing where the money went to and bring that money back to useful use to assist Kenyans. Because arresting is one thing, prosecuting and recovering what they have stolen, there are three different things altogether. And I think, of course, you see in this country, even those people who are charged with murder can find themselves out of court on bond. The law allows them to do so. So really arresting somebody in this country at this era, in light of how much money they have stolen, is not really a big thing. They can go there, stay there for 1 week, they will come out anyway. So what is important, what the Kenyans are waiting to say, is if the government, through its machineries, through its networks, they are able to follow up this money and they return back this money to public use. That's what the Kenyans are waiting for.
Right, not arrests. We're waiting to the end of all this. Before we continue to some politics, let's talk about Nurdin Haji. And you know, he's come out as really tough talking. Even looking at his Twitter handle over the weekend, you know, saying that we will not rest until this matter is sorted and people are brought to book. But we've seen that before also, Kavins, isn't it? We've seen tough talking, heads of different institutions coming out to say these things will happen. But do you have some different hope and trust in Nurdin Haji that he's going to actually deliver some prosecutions?
The tough talking I see is orchestrated. There is no quality in the people being charged. By quality, I mean, in the NCPB, there are people who would be directly involved in the scandal. Audit, people who receive the maize and record that so-and-so has received this much, the accounting, the payment, and the authorizing authority. Those would just be about 10 or 9 people. When you bring 48 people, then we know you have done nothing. 48 people cannot be involved in this scandal from NCPB. And also, when you leave out the key things, I listened to Mwangi Kiunjuri say he will spill the beans.
Yes, yes.
When a minister himself says he will spill the beans, he will report who? You know, you can only report people who are at your level or above. So who is this that Kiunjuri is going to tell us was behind all this mess?
Okay.
So when you read those things, as a politician, you need to listen between the lines, not on the lines, so that you see why people say what they say.
All right. Didmas, your final comment on that?
I think let's give the Nurdin the moral support and the political support. He has just started. We should not castigate him at this time. But again, what is important is not just the arrests and the prosecution. Again, it's the system audit of the IFMIs. If we are blaming IFMIs for all those flaws that people can easily siphon the money, then we need to carry out a system audit on our government procurement procedures and systems, identifying areas with the risks that can lead to people siphoning money easily, and review some of those systems with a view of preventing what is happening in future. Because this is the second time that we are losing money through NYS and NCPB. And we seem not to have picked up important lessons to learn from the previous fraud that happened. If we will have done so, then we will have made the system much more, preventive in terms of not anybody can just steal money. We are talking of money that is enough to pay for fees for poor children of this Kenya from Form 1 to Form 4. This is a lot of money, and we cannot really sit down and just watch that money just disappear just like that.
All right. Interesting. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that. Okay, we're now on to move on to the conversation to some politics. And, of course, over the weekend, a number of statements were made about the elusive Luya unity. And, of course, you had Boni Halwale there challenging Raila Odinga to, this time round, support their own. First things first, Kevin, are you okay with that statement? Because, we're trying to come out of this ethnic, what do you call it, support groups and move on the country to, politics of ideologies. But then we still have this sort of conversation.
My biggest problem with the lawyer land is they never learn from history. They never learn from experience. They learn from nothing. We have had this so-called lawyer unity campaign for far too long. People are never united just by word of mouth, collecting them to a group. They are united by a common cause. And if you are a leader for your people to follow you, you must take them to where they desire to go. People followed Moses because they desired to be free from Egypt. That is why they follow. But if you take your people and tell them, let me take you to a good place, and they see you making corners, going to the wrong places, they will never follow you. So if you want a lawyer unity, lead all the lawyers to the correct direction. What is the desire of the lawyer nation today? Be a credible presidential candidate who is a lawyer. They will all follow you without collecting them into a group and telling them, let us all unite.
But haven't we had that? Haven't we had, Musalia Mudavadi
Remember, I have
coming in?
The word credible somewhere there.
Credible.
He's never been credible at any time.
All right.
He has always looked like he's not really up to the task.
All right, we'll get back for you to qualify that statement.
Okay.
But coming back to you, your take on this elusive unity, should we be having a conversation about that? Raila Odinga, on the other hand, says that, it's time that we moved from this, ethnical inclinations and, continue having a conversation about nationality. But do you think it's actually going to be possible?
Raila Odinga has benefited from the Luya unity for a long time. It's the Luya nation that made Raila earn that tag a national leader. You remember in 1997, and when he ran for presidency, he only got the support from the Luo Nyanza. But when he paired with Musalia Mudavadi, he began to get support from the Luya community. Of course, if you have an ethnic bloc voting for you for over 70%, and you don't come from that particular bloc, then it means you qualify to be a national leader. That apart from getting support from the area where you were born from, you can go ahead and get that support. But Raila has been defrauding the Luya of their support by cheating and lying to them. That a time is coming, he will support one of them. At times he lies to them that he's also one of them is the descendant of Nabongo, while everybody knows that this is a lie. So the type of unity that people are talking about now is unity out of Odinga. You know, we've been a slave of Raila for very many years, and this time round we are saying that we have supported you for a very long time. You keep on saying, showing indicators that you are willing to support one of our own, but at the end of the day, you do the opposite. And I am not even ruling me out to, in future, he can come back and begin to go to Wetangula and begin also to tell them that, you see, I'm growing old. I'm going to say Wetangula Tosha or Lumsalia Tosha. But as a community, we have seen the light. That this is a person who is not honest, is a definition of a true politician. A true politician that will tell you this is yellow, while he himself knows that this is a completely is a blue or a red. He's just saying yellow for him to get his way away.
All right.
So what we are doing now as a community is that we want to get people together, and all we are asking Raila Odinga is that he must stand with the community this time around. Not necessarily if one of us is running for presidency or maybe whichever way, but he must follow he stand with us in terms of the political support that we need.
All right. So indeed, Raila Odinga is still extremely instrumental, even in moving forward politically for the Luya community.
Yeah, he is still instrumental. I am a Jubilee Member of Parliament, but most people from my constituency, over 70%, voted for Raila Odinga. They still believed in him, but what has happened in terms of him treating our leaders, you remember when he orchestrated the sacking of Wetangula from the position of the leader of minority in the Senate, and also trying to portray Musalia as a coward person during the funeral of the mother of Shinali, Member of Parliament. I think has not gone down well with the community. So what we are doing now is that we are grouping ourselves as a community, and we will issue a new political direction as we head towards the 2022 general election.
A new political direction. Kevin, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you remove Raila Odinga from the equation and you remain probably with Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, are they the credible leaders who would actually, ask the Luya community to follow them in a certain direction?
It is time we learn to tell Kenyans the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. First of all, let me tell you that voting for someone does not make you his slave. The Luos are not the slaves of Raila, neither are the Kalenjin slaves of Ruto, nor lawyers the slaves of Raila and Kikuyu slaves of Uhuru Kenyatta. There is nothing like slave of somebody because you have voted for them repeatedly. It is only a choice that somebody makes and decides, among the presidential candidates, this is my best choice. This idea of, I supported you, you are going to support me this time, we backed you, you are going to return the favor. This is something that these leaders never say themselves. It is the political campaigners who go to campaign without content and start looking for something that will appeal to the desires of the people. The desires of the Kalenjin, like in the last general election. I want to use it as an example because it is what majority of our viewers can relate to now. I don't want to go to the past. There is no time anywhere that somebody has been supported by a community because they once supported one of their own. When William Ruto went into partnership with Uhuru Kenyatta, they were both beneficiaries. William Ruto earned himself the DP positions. He also earned himself influence. He also earned himself opportunity to get some of his friends in government. So in actual sense, he is owed nothing. When Wetangula joined Raila Odinga in NASA, he was lucky. He could now get to win his seat very easily. There is nothing he is still owed here. When a NASA coalition is formed, it is formed to win an election. So if in NASA they find it is Raila Odinga who can bring home the trophy, then they go with him. But this idea of we supported you, now support us, this thing cannot work. For example, when William Ruto first joined hands with Uhuru Kenyatta, some of the children who are only 12 years will be able to vote in 2022. Will they know what really happened? And if it is a matter of we supported you, now you support us, then you find a community like the Kikuyu community, Os Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, they owe Raila Odinga, now they owe Ruto. Are we going to do fast debts first? So this thing cannot work. But on individual level, leave the community out. Individual level, everyone is a beneficiary when they come together to form a coalition. And finally, we also must also remember, these coalitions, one that is credible, one that is capable of winning, is never used more than once. If you use it more than, you're going nowhere.
So, for
Kibaki only used NAC once, then went to PNU. Uhuru only used the Jubilee coalition once, then went to Jubilee Party. This is how it works.
That's how it works. All right.
So we can't struggle to keep something united when it will not work.
When it will not
History has taught us.
All right. Dimas, I'll come to your thoughts shortly. But before that happens, let's just listen in to what the Sports Cabinet Secretary also said about elusive Luya unity. Let's just listen in to his bite.
Na mzee Raila, kwa heshima kubwa, mimi unajua mimi ni kijana yako na kuna siku mimi nimekosea heshima. Na kuomba kwa heshima kubwa, 2013 sisi Waluya tumesimama na chama ya ODM. 2017 Waluya mmesimama na chama ya ODM. Tunaomba kwa heshima kubwa na Mheshimiwa Raila, 2022 nawe pia simama na mtoto wa Mluya.
All right, so that's Rashid Echesa, the CS for Sports. Didmas, come into your thoughts. Something on Kevin's, what Scott Kevin said.
I want to tell my friend that I am a practicing politician, unlike him, who reads politics on the newspapers, on the books, focusing or rather researching on the scenarios that happened elsewhere, relating them on how it can shape our political dimension going forward. Politics in Kenya revolves around individuals. If you go, for example, to Western, Luanda, it revolves around individuals. And the way the people vote in subsequent elections, it has got a lot of things to do with how they were campaigning previously, what was the messaging, what they were telling the people. You remember when Kibaki came in, the Luya nation voted for Kibaki because he paired with Mike Kijana Omalwa. And they were very clear. The message down on the ground was that if we pair with Kibaki, then we will almost take over the president of this country. And that has always been the scenario going forward. The Kenyans voted for Uhuru Kenyatta because they knew very well that the MOU that they had discussed exists and it will come to be implemented in 2022. So saying that things that you supported us, and now we supported you, now you support us moving forward doesn't make sense. I think that is not getting the basics right. And if you look at the messaging previously before, the Luya nation were preparing to take over the presidency. Of course, you can agree with me that Raila Odinga had some kind of an MOU even with the Kalonzo Musyoka, which he dishonored, he never honored it. He had another MOU with the NASA principles. They were, surely he was to run for one time and maybe they take over. So we have a debate now as to whether Raila should still run or they should support one of the principles that he had initially indicated that he will support them. So I think when we want to look at how politics of this country will go, we must also look at how those kind of messaging were done.
All right. Interesting. Kevin, your thoughts on that one very briefly?
You know why that does not work? If really the people knew that there was an MOU, then they should have seen that MOU. They only believed there was one. There is nothing like MOU. When these people sit and agree, they agree that now as we are here for, we think the best candidates to achieve this goal, to bring the trophy home, is Raila Odinga. But then when we go out there for the people to follow their leaders, let's tell them it will be reached another time when we will actually now support their leader.
But wasn't there an MOU with NASA on how to...
There are MOUs to say so and so is going to be our candidate under these terms and conditions. When he gets the trophy, he will ask, they say, Tangula, bring 2 people, we put in cabinet, so and so bring 3 people. That is their benefit for that support. Not that they will be supported another day. Because if that were to be the case, NASA has 4 principles. If one goes 10 years each, I think the last one will get this thing when when I think he will be 115 years old or more.
But the next
That will not
election,
be
Kalonzo
possible.
Musyoka was to be supported, according to the MOU that they had.
That MOU, did you see it? Did anyone see it anywhere? There's nothing like that. Let me take you back to this last one. In the event that William Ruto will now go for 10 years because he supported Uhuru Kenyatta to go for 10 years, don't you think he will earn more from this coalition than Uhuru Kenyatta, who has only been president for 10 years? Him, he will be VP, sharing the government 50-50 with the president for 10 years and the president for another 10 years. Don't you think he will be getting more than he bargained for? So this thing is only for the people. It's only for the 90% voters who are functionally politically illiterate out there, who are being told, no, follow your man, he's coming to join us, we will also follow him in the end. This thing has never happened since multi-party began. Nobody has supported A, then A supports him in the next. So this idea cannot work. It is impractical anywhere in the world.
I want to bring my brother up to speed to qualify what I've just said, that in Kenya, regions support a particular person not because of his agenda, but because he's working with one of their own, and to them, succession appears clear. In 2013 and 7, the Kalenjin nation voted overwhelmingly for Raila Odinga. In 2013, they never voted for Raila Odinga, despite the fact that he had many of his colleagues as cabinet secretary, as cabinet ministers from the region, but they never voted for him. What has changed? He was the same Raila Odinga, he had the same ideology, he had the same agenda. The only thing that had changed was that Ruto was no longer with him. So meaning in 2007, they voted for him because he had paired himself with William Samoei Ruto, and they believed in some way that through him, they will get to the top seat of this country. But because now his relationship and William Ruto had gone sour, they all moved away. They even voted out the people like Henry Kosgei, like Sally Kosgei, who are powerful cabinet ministers from the coalition government, Serikali la Nusu Mkate. So what I'm saying here is that Kenyans never vote for a person because he has an agenda, but they vote for a person depending on whom that person is pairing with from their community, and what is the narrative down to the ground. What is the messaging? What is it that we have to support him? And it has always been because of the history of this country that you benefit more when one of your own is the president. So they will always find a way that, we are going for one term, the next term we will support this person. That is what makes the political differences, my friend.
Now, that is what lieutenants like you are told to go and tell the people, but it is not the truth. You get the idea? The Kalenjins were following Ruto into Uhuru camp because they have been made to believe that President Uhuru Kenyatta is supposed to support Ruto in 2022, which is not the truth. This is lying to the people. Let the people know the truth.
But it's a very much welcome narrative, seemingly.
They follow hope, not reality.
They follow hope, not reality.
Not reality.
You see, Betty, that's why the difference from my friend and me is that I am a practicing politician. I know what is practically possible to be done. But him is making his statements on the basis of some theories that he has read from the books. He has followed from other countries, which completely doesn't work in this country. And when you want to take this country forward, we must work on the things that are practically done, not things that are not workable.
Let me just remind him that I vied for a seat when he was still in school. So I have been practicing politics up to now. The fact that you finally slipped through the Vifaranga via computers and became an MP does not make you a practicing politician and not me. I am practicing politics on a daily basis. I don't even read. I don't have time to read.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's stop it at that. Thank you very much for your time. Been speaking to Didmus Barasa, who's the Kimilili Member of Parliament, together with Kevin Sowidi, who is a political analyst. Thank you for your time. All right, so we will take a short commercial break right now, but when we come back, I will be speaking to my colleagues. I can see Emmanuel Wangwe together with Kevin Ogutu. They will be joining me in a few minutes, of course, to give us some developing stories from where they are. But for now, let's take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.